get started. You should have this in front of you, and we are just going to build off of what we have already done the past few days. You need to remember what the reciprocals of the three basic trig functions are in order to do this. And you're gonna need your calculators out too, because we're gonna be putting things in what we call simplest radical form, which you guys have done before. I don't think that's gonna be a huge deal. First of all, our job in this problem is to figure out the sign of the x value. Here is, I forgot to change my color. Here is the x value that we're talking about.
Should I circle that?
And your job is to figure out the sign of x. Who cares what the x value is? That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you to calculate the sine ratio of that angle. So sine means what over what?
Opposite over hypotenuse.
Opposite over hypotenuse. What is opposite of the x value?
7.
7. What is the hypotenuse?
15.
15. So the sine of x is 7 over 15. Not a big deal. Cosine of x. Well, cosine means what? Adjacent over hypotenuse.
Good
So
job,
adjacent to x is this side. The hypotenuse again is the 15. So
X
you
over
know
15.
it is going to be something over 15. But we don't have the adjacent side. So what are we going to do to find it? Pythagorean theorem. And that's where I'm going to need you guys to be punching things into your calculator. What we need to do is figure out this missing side. In this case, it's called the adjacent side. So we're going to take 15 squared. We're going to add or subtract. Subtract 15 squared minus 7 squared. And I need the answer before you take the square root.
176.
Thank you. You get 176. All right. Now, we do need to take the square root of that. And you take the square root of 176. This is where we need to work with this a little bit. 176 in simplest radical form is what we need to do. So I'm going to come over here. Square root of 176. The way that I always teach students to do this is to make a tree and start breaking it down into all prime factors. What is 107? A good place to start is always to divide by 2. What is 176 divided by 2? 88. 88. So we have 2 and 88. And as soon as I get a prime factor, I like to circle it. 88 is 2 and 44.
Yep.
Yeah.
44 is 2 and 22. You guys still with me?
Yep.
22 is 2 and 11. 11 is prime, so we can stop. Do you understand what I mean by prime?
Yes.
Prime means only divisible by 1 in itself. Okay. All right. Every time you see a pair of two matching numbers, you write it down one time. No, you write it down one time.
Oh, for real?
So we have a pair, and we have another pair. And a pair, not to insult your intelligence, but a pair means 2. Okay.
Whoa.
So we have how many pairs of 2s?
2.
2.
We have 2. So each time you have a pair, you write it down. So 176 is the same thing as 2 times 2, not plus 2. In this case, it doesn't matter if you add or multiply, but you have to be multiplying for the future. And then we have a leftover. What's left over?
11.
An 11. So that stays underneath your radical symbol. What is 2 times 2?
4.
4.
It is 4. So we have 4 radical 11. 4 radical 11. So that means that this missing sign over here is 4 square roots of 11.
Sweet.
So what is the cosine value of that x?
Four square root of 15.
Oh, 4 square roots of 11 over 15. Is there a square root on the bottom? Can you reduce 4 and 15? Nope, so this is your final answer. Alright, tangent, what does tangent mean?
Opposite over adjacent.
It means opposite over adjacent, but I also want you to think of it like, I want you to get used to thinking of tangent as the sine value divided by the cosine value. Is it wrong to think of it as opposite divided by adjacent? Absolutely not. It is not wrong to think of it like that. But you need to comfortable with that sine divided by cosine relationship? So here we go. If I take the sine value and divide it by the cosine value, in other words, if I take 7/15 and I divide it by 4 square root 11 over 15, remember the 15s cancel out. And you would be left with 7 divided by 4 square root 11. What's wrong with that?
Square root of the middle.
There's a square root at the bottom. We need to get rid of it. So this is where we need to talk. What are we going to multiply by to get rid of the square root of 11? Yes.
Square root of 11.
Yes. You don't have to multiply by 4 square root of 11. You only have to multiply by the square root of 11. Just get rid of the square root. So I'm going to multiply both the denominator and the numerator by the square root of 11, because if I multiply by the square root of 11 over the square root of 11, what am I really multiplying by? 1. Okay? So on the top, I have 7 square root of 11, and then on the bottom, let's do some math here, you guys. What is the square root of 11 times the square root of 11?
Square root of 120.
It's the square root of 121. What is the square root of 121?
11.
11. So whenever you multiply two square roots with exactly the same value inside the radical symbol, then you get that value. So really what you have here is 4 times 11. What is 4 times 11?
44.
You guys are so smart.
Thanks.
7 square root of 11 over 44. Now, can I reduce this? Can I reduce 11 and the 44?
Yes.
Say no.
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 Why can I not, you guys? Why can I not
One's in
reduce?
square root. It'll be cheating.
Yeah, this is a square root. 44 is not in a square root, so you may not reduce the 11 and the 44 because the 11 is part of a square root.
Why can't you reduce the square root and the non-square root?
Because you can't.
It's just one of those math rules.
No, it's a law.
And
Look
the
at
square
us.
root of 11 is really actually a crazy decimal value that cannot be reduced with 44.
It's
All right, cosecant. What does cosecant mean? It's the reciprocal of sine. So if sine is 7 over 15, the cosecant is
15 over 7.
6, 7.
15 over 7.
Wouldn't that be 2 and 1 7?
Dang.
Well, just leave it as a fraction though. An improper fraction is fine.
Okay.
And I am scrolling up here, so I've now lost all of my values that I had there before, so I'm going to need some help from you guys.
Hey, it's all good.
Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. What'd you have for cosine?
15 or
For over 11. Or
15 or
15.
4 radical 11
something like that.
over 15.
Good crazy radicals.
Okay, so I had 4 radical 11 over 15.
Indubitably.
So the secant is going to be 15 divided by 4 radical 11.
Nope.
Gotta get rid of that crazy radical symbol on the bottom, so I multiply both the top and the bottom by the square root of 11. So quickly, what am I gonna have on the bottom?
44.
44. Very nice. And then on the top, I'm gonna have 15 radical 11.
Yes.
Cotangent. Cotangent is the reciprocal of
Sorry.
tangent.
Tangent.
Okay. What's tangent? What'd you guys have for tangent?
7
7.
radical 11.
Radical 11.
7 radical 11
Or 44.
over what?
Full. Yeah.
So now I have 44 over 7 radical 11. I multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the
77
square root
over
of 11. It's going to get you what on the bottom?
77.
77.
Number 44 radical 11.
Okay, but this can be reduced.
Yeah.
44 over 77. 44 and 77
Four
are both
sevens.
divisible by 11.
Oh, that's good.
So we have 4 radical 11 over 7.
Yeah.
We gotta go shopping.
We should make a math for
Can we go back to it?
No.
All right. Secant of x is 13 over 5. You guys, secant is the reciprocal
Cosine.
Yes, cosine.
You
And that means that
Cosine.
if it's the reciprocal of cosine, that means that the 13 is the hypotenuse and the 5 is the
Small side.
adjacent side.
Indeed.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, we are.
Adjacent over hypotenuse is cosine. The reciprocal of cosine is going to be those two flipped over. So we have hypotenuse over adjacent. So the hypotenuse in this triangle is what?
13.
13. Adjacent to angle X is going to be your 5. So we got to put the 5 on the bottom. Adjacent to X. Our job is going to be, of course, to calculate that missing side. So we have to use the Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem tells us that we need to take 13 squared
169
minus 5 squared. Yep, so we have 169 minus 25, which is 144.
So I said, so you'll be 12.
Give me
Those
12.
aren't scale.
Am I right, guys?
Yes, you
Those
are.
are not
So
scale.
we're going to end up with 12. What is the sine of X? Sine of X is going to be opposite divided by the hypotenuse.
So 12.
So it's going to be 12 over 13.
Thank you.
The cosine value is going to be adjacent, which is 5 divided by the hypotenuse, which is 13. So we have 5 over 13. The tangent, think of it as sine divided by cosine. So if you take the sine value, which is 12/13, and you divide it by the cosine value, which is 5/13, the 13s cancel out, and it leaves you with just the numerators divided, so it's going to be what? 12 over 5. But if you want to look back at your triangle and know that tangent means opposite divided by adjacent, well, opposite of angle X is 12, adjacent to angle X is 5. So you can go back to your triangle if you want to, but I'm promising you now that later on in this class it will be very helpful to know very quickly that to always think of the tangent value as the sine divided by the cosine. All right, cosecant. You guys, cosecant is the reciprocal of
Sine.
sine. So the reciprocal of sine in this case is going to be 13 over 12. The secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so it is 13 over 5, and the cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, so it is 5 over 12. Not so bad, right?
Nope.
This isn't horrible. Number 3. Alright, given right triangle ABC below, find the exact values of the cosine of C. You guys, we have a 3, 4, 5 triangle. Let's go through these really, really quickie. Really quickly. Cosine of angle C. This is angle C. Adjacent is 3. Oh my gosh, the hypotenuse is 5. So we have 3 over 5. The cosecant, that is the reciprocal of sine. Okay, you guys.
Alright, let's go.
Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Sine is going to be 4 divided by 5.
5 over 4.
So the cosecant is going to be 5 over 4. The tangent value. Well, the tangent value is the sine value divided by the cosine value. We only have the cosine value up here. We don't have the sine value because they're horrible. The tangent is opposite, which is 3 divided by adjacent, which is 4. And then secant. Secant is the reciprocal of what?
Cosine.
Cosine.
5 over
Cosine
3.
is 3 over 5, so the reciprocal is 5 over 3.
Wait a minute.
So
Are we doing it of angle A for the last two?
oh my gosh, we are. Darn it anyway, Marcus.
Oh,
Darn you for
sorry.
being right. Yes, you know what, you guys, he's right. I was being a robot. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Tangent of A. Sorry, back up here. Angle A. Opposite is 3, adjacent is 4. Thank you. 3 over 4. Tangent of angle A, or excuse me, secant of angle A. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Well, the cosine of angle A is adjacent, which is 4, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 5. So the reciprocal of cosine, of course, is going to be 5 over 4. So, very good. Yes.
It says find the exact value
Well, the exact value is this, because like,
0.75.
sometimes there'll be crazy answers like we did up in the very first example where we got like 4 radical 11 over something. Well, this would be a more exact answer than giving me a rounded decimal value.
Yeah, but wouldn't you just put 0.75 and 1.25?
Yeah, that would be okay here. It would be okay just to leave, because these are nice decimals that don't have to be rounded. You could just write down the whole value. But typically you'll see these ratios in terms of fractions.
Hey, you're the teacher.
That's why I am the teacher.
Uh-huh.
All right, number 4. Last one. And in this one, we are switching angles. We're doing J's and M's and so on, but we're going to do the same thing.
Nope, just J's.
You guys, am I showing all of it? Is that the last one? Is tan and cotan?
Yes.
All right, so here we go. Sine. Well, first of all, we need to find the missing side. Let's do that right now. What are we going to do to find the missing side?
2 squared plus 5 squared.
2 squared plus 5 squared. So we're going to do
29.
Yeah.
2 squared plus 5 squared is equal to 29. Take the square root of 29. Can you do any kind of a tree with 29? 29 is a prime number, so that's it. You can't do anything to it. You're going to leave this hypotenuse as the square root of 29. Sine of j. Here's angle j. Sine is opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So in this case, we have 5 over the square root of 29. Got to get rid of that 29 on the bottom, that square root of 29 on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 29. So on the top, I have 5 square root of 29. And then on the bottom, the square root of 29 times the square root of 29, that is
29.
29. Can 5 on the numerator and the 29 on the denominator be simplified?
No.
Reduced? Nope, 29 can't be divided by anything, neither can 5. So, all right, cosine of j. Cosine means adjacent divided by hypotenuse. So in this case, we're going to have 2 divided by the square root of 29. Again, we've got the square root of 29 divided by the square root of 29 to multiply by. So we have 2 square root of 29 in the numerator. If I'm going too fast, you guys please tell me. 2 square root of 29 over 29. Tangent of j. Tangent means sine divided by cosine. So go back to the original problems here, you guys. If the tangent value is the sine divided by the cosine, take the original values, 5 square root of 29 and 2 square root of 29. So we have 5 divided by the square root of 29 divided by 2 over the square root of 29. The denominators cancel out. What are you left with?
5 over 2.
5 over 2. So sometimes it's helpful to not look at the final answer. Because if you had looked at the final answer, you'd have another radical in your denominator, and then you'd have to go through the whole rationalizing the denominator process again. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
If we were to look at our final answers, we would have a radical in our denominator again, and then we would have to go through the whole process. So if you can avoid doing that, please avoid it. All right, I'm going to skip over here and do the rest of the J's before I switch over here to the M's. The cosecant of j, that is the reciprocal of the sine of j. So again, eyes and ears up here, you guys. Don't use this answer. You can use this answer, but when you flip it, you're going to have a radical in the denominator. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go back to the original problem. Sometimes it's helpful to go back to what you originally came up with. Because now all you have to do is just flip those two. There's no square root in the bottom. All right, so this cosine or cosecant of j is going to be the square root of 29 over 5. Secant of j. Secant is the reciprocal of 2 over the square root of 29, which is going to be the square root of 29 over 2. Yes, Melissa?
So you know how you said don't go back to your final answer? If you did and you simplified it, you would still get the same thing.
Yes, you would. That's why if you do use that answer, as long as you follow your rules for rationalizing, you should be fine. I'm just trying to save you a little bit of work. Tangent of J is 5 over 2, so what's the reciprocal of that?
2 over 5.
2 over 5. Cotangent of J is 2 over 5. Alright. Sine of M. Sine of M. Now we're working up here with this angle right here. Sine is opposite 2 over the hypotenuse 29. So we have 2 over the square root of 29. Gotta get rid of that. Yes. Yes. Multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 29. So we have 2 square root of 29 on the top, and then on the bottom you have what?
29.
29? Let's jump over here and do cosecant right away. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So go back, this would be a good time when you should go back to what you originally came up with before you rationalized. Flip this, you end up with
Square root of 29 over 2.
square root of 29 over 2. Cosine of M, cosine is adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. Adjacent is 5 over the square root of 29. Multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 29. So on the top, you're going to have 5 radical 29 divided by 29. Secant is the reciprocal. Go back to the original ratio you came up with. 5 over the square root of 29 has a reciprocal of the square root of 29 over 5. Tangent. Tangent is opposite divided by adjacent, or in other words, it is the sine value divided by the cosine value. Well, if you go to the original problems, the original ratios, we have 2 over the square root of 29 divided by 5 over the square root of 29. The square roots of 29 cancel right out, and you are left with
2 over 5.
2 over 5, which means then that, wow, that's horrible. The cotangent is going to be the reciprocal of 2 over 5, which is
5 over 2.
5 over 2.
I get this.
Brad, you have completed size